Check, check. We've gone live now.
Hurry.
Congratulations, everybody. Welcome to live. I like this picture of the flying spaghetti monster because it looks a bit like hairy balls. I think that's funny.
Got a bunch of curly cute hairs.
Curly cues, short and curlies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Pastafarian live stream. It's me, Schizophrenic Mitch. Today we are talking about Jesus, the liar, and how the book of Genesis is just full and riddled and is myth.
Mm-hmm.
Full of and is only mythology. But before we really get into anything, let's do this.
Welcome, this is a farmhouse. We have cluster flies, alas, and this time of year is bad. We are so very sorry. There is little we can do but swat them. She didn't beg, or not enough. She didn't stay when things got tough. I told a lie, she got mad. She wasn't there when things got bad. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. Never ever saw the stars so bright. In the farmhouse things will be alright. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. Never ever saw the stars so bright. In the farmhouse things will be alright, 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 alright. Woke this morning to the stinging lash. Every man rise from the ash. Each betrayal begins with trust. Every man returns to dust. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. Never ever saw the stars so bright. In the farmhouse things will be alright. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. Never ever saw the stars so bright. In the farmhouse days will be alright. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. Never ever saw the stars so bright. In the farmhouse things will be alright. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. I never ever saw the stars so bright. In the farmhouse things will be alright, 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 alright. Welcome, this is a farmhouse. Welcome, this is a farmhouse. I never ever saw the northern lights. I never really heard of cluster flies. I never ever saw the
I also have never seen the Northern Lights, but I have seen the Southern Cross. Not that he was saying anything about that, but you know, just to let you know, just in case you were wondering.
You've seen the Southern Cross.
Who among us has seen the Southern Cross? Me.
Mm-hmm.
I has.
Yes.
I've seen it. Alright. I don't have any notes today. Today's sort of, I was going to have something to, like, watch and release, and, like, we could watch it and release it, but, like, then I didn't do my homework yesterday, so I don't have anything.
Yeah, we started it, but...
Yeah, we started it. We got about an hour of stuff, and so maybe we'll put it out in, like, 10 minutes maybe 15 minutes maybe 17 minutes I don't know. I'll have to go find the algorithm and see what length of video is the perfect length of video to put to YouTube, and then I'll cut it down. I'll cut the video down to that.
I'm sure you're going to have like 5 meetings about it too.
Yeah. This is very important to release this content with the respect it deserves. Otherwise, it won't get the views. You know, if you put out good content, but you don't do what you need for it to get the views, it's like you don't even really care about that content. It's like you're willing for it to be ignored.
Well, then that sounds like a journal entry.
Yeah, journal entry number 1. So what do you think about Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, Joe?
Sounds great.
Sounds great? You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably. He'll probably do really good.
But I like Tom Hanks already, so like...
Right, he's practically cheating.
Yeah, right.
He's a bit too big in the body, right? He's too large a person.
Yeah. Mr. Rogers is definitely a thin person.
Yeah, I wouldn't say frail,
No.
but I would say very,
Lean? What is those descriptive words?
slight in stature,
Oh,
perhaps.
that's a good one.
Maybe. Look at this. A year ago, when I was really advertising as a shaman, Pastafarian shaman, able to let you hear the voice of God, I was charging $1,000. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a good price. $1,000. All right. So I'm awake. Oh wait a minute! I'm not awake. I don't have any soda pop. No very cherry. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my. Why even then? Shall we continue with this bullshit? Like, there is no even
The algorithm.
very cherry. Yeah, to let us all serve the algorithm. Though we may not have meaning in our individual lives, we have meaning inside the algorithm. The algorithm gives us meaning. Thank you, algorithm, for the meaning that we wouldn't have without you. For letting us know the best and most noble use of a human person is to create quality content. So, congratulations to everybody out there for finding this quality content page and site. And we are very excited to give you the bestest, most algorithm delicious content that we can create for you, because we have meetings, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of meetings.
I remember the note I want to talk about.
Uh-oh. Josephine has something.
Yeah, there's in your comments another Pastafarian talk to you.
Let's talk about comments, shall we? Let's go to the YouTube comments. And if you have commented to us recently, maybe we'll be reading your comments right now. And if you're commenting right now, maybe we'll definitely read it, because Meridian Heights said, some people like short vids, some prefer longer vids. My preference, maybe 15 to 20 is a good length. I don't know. I'm trying to help your algorithms. I know. Unfortunately, it changes every day, and so you've got to go down to like the quest giver and say, oh, algorithm, tell me the length that it ought to be today. And they will be, today, make a 5-minute and 32-second video, and you shall win the internet. That's how they talk. They talk a little bit like JFK. Pardon me. I don't know if you guys smoke a lot. If you bong a lot. With too little water in your bong. That's what I like to do. It's one of my favourite things to do.
Yeah.
Alright, here are my comments. Public. Let's check for spam again. There's a lot of times very well-meaning comments end up in the spam folder, so we've got to retrieve those quite often. Hold on one moment.
Yeah.
There was lots of sneezing and nose blowing. Yes, we're definitely bonging all day long. It is Saturday. Which, of course, since it's the day after the Holy Day, is the Holy Recovery Day.
Yes, totally.
So, Hangover Recovery Day is Saturday. Let's see. Subaru does, the NFS Fantastic, says Peter has entered the chat, or left the chat. FBI has entered. Yeah, here's a video that I stole from a movie that I liked when I was a kid. Someone told me that they had never seen that part of it, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna post it and send it to you so you can see the kitten pie, because kitten pie is really funny. And here they are, these kittens in the pie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really funny that the baddest guy in the world, what's he doing? He's cooking kittens, the bastard. Just such an horrible, unthinkable thing to do. But anyway, that's a video that doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter, as it's very important, but it's not Pastafarian in any way. Except that it does have Albert Einstein, who is a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
So, Meridian Heights asks 18 hours ago, who the hell is Lonnie? I've heard you mention him several times, I can't figure out who he is. Well, that's a good question. I'll show you who Lonnie is, because he's in our videos. He's in some of them. He's this street preacher who works out in New Orleans, and he's been out there quite a bit. I've been following him for a few years, and we sort of have been talking to each other and hanging out a little bit through through online. We've been hanging out online, talking, and I think maybe it would be fun to oops, wait a minute, Bob. I think maybe it'd be fun to have like a weekly sort of jibber jabs with him, and so I did, and I'm editing it, and this video here that I just linked into the chat is sort of the pre-episode when we were working on hardware and stuff, and then we have the other video, which I'm probably going to edit today.
Mm-hmm.
At least 10 to 15 to 20
Totally.
to 25 to 6.5 minutes. I'd really have to look it up.
Get it posted.
Yeah. James Tackett
There's a
commented
link to that comment.
commented to us.
Yeah, above. In a meridian.
As long as I'm here, make sure to listen to the song I put in the link for you, twice actually, in the live channel. Maybe it doesn't show up. Have you linked this twice in the live chat? I haven't seen it.
Wow.
I'm Schizophrenic, No I'm Not, by NDI. Yes, we'll listen to this. It's not time for music yet, though.
There.
You should read the 8, James Tackett says 22 hours ago. You should read the 8, I'd really rather you didn't. I have read them. The Flying Spaghetti Monster, the FSM, I suppose he's saying, specifically is non-interactive and calls you to not say that he talks to you. You're not special. I am an ordained minister as well, and I'm casting you as a false prophet. So this is interesting. I get something maybe not as advanced or aggressive as this, but I get criticisms quite often that go like, have you even read this? You really need to figure out what Pastafarian. You're not a Pastafarian. And first of all, as a minestrone who's been preaching in the streets for a long time, I've come to terms with the idea that I cannot call another person not a Pastafarian. It's not a thing you can do. You can't, like, I wasn't given powers by Bobby Henderson to call other people and say, well, you're not really a Pastafarian.
Correct.
There is no true Scotsman fallacy. There is no true Pastafarian fallacy, right? There's no such thing as that. Everyone who wants to be is, and all they have to do to prove that they wanted to be is say it.
I want to be.
I wanted to be. I want to be now. I want to be then. I wanted to be years ago. I was Pastafarian for years. And then you go, well, fuck, what am I going to do, right? You can't be like, well, it wasn't a real baptism. You can't be like, well, you didn't have the actual priesthood, you know?
Yeah, or you're not following the right values.
Right.
You've misinterpreted this verse.
Right. And so these ideas are very commonly cause schisms and splits in the Pastafarian church. There's quite a bit. I myself am in a cult, in the Pastafarian cult. There's the Pastafarian Caliphate. There's the Knights of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. There's a lot of groups of Pastafarians that have sort of defined themselves by one of the tenets of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. And so, specifically number 1 and 7, please respect the views of the noodliness, says James Tackett. And then I responded to James Tackett that I claim the 5th. I would be happy to debate this point with him through any medium he feels comfortable with, and I told him we'd be talking about it today on the chat. And then he responded, and I haven't read this, but he quoted me the 1st and 7th, and didn't quote the 5th, right? Because first of all, the I'd rather you didn't are sort of like a commentary on reality. He's not really saying these are the things I'd rather you didn't do, these are things that you can do, these are things you can't do. He's sort of lamenting reality, that it was like, man, I wish we could call these people wrong without seeming like such assholes, you know? And so he's saying he's not saying don't have any of this. He's saying keep it minimized, right? And so I do, you know? And on the 7th, let's read the 7th, I'd really you didn't go around telling people I talked to you, you're not that interesting, get over yourself, and I told you to love your fellow man, can't you take a hint? So first of all, this is 2 thoughts, right? Flying Spaghetti Monster's all over the place. He hasn't focused it down enough that the 7th I'd rather you didn't says something. It sort of suggests his feelings about certain ideas, but he doesn't really say anything. And what's odd is I'd really rather you didn't go around telling people I talked to you. James Tackett is in violation of this right now when he's telling me that the Flying Spaghetti Monster told him that he'd rather I didn't tell people that Flying Spaghetti Monster told me something.
That's the biggest part he's missing here, is everyone writes their own scriptures.
Right.
And these are the scriptures of Bobby Henderson.
Yes.
And any other Pastafarian who quotes him is gross to me.
And actually, I don't think these are Bobby Henderson. I'm not positive that Bobby Henderson wrote the 8th. I think it was done on the forums. I think it's just forum comedy that bubbled up to the top. You know, I don't know. I think the 8th are in the Gospel. I think the 8 I'd rather you didn't are in the Gospel, but I think that they were added after a bit of not added, but the Gospel was written after a bit of sort of fermentation on the forums, right?
Yeah.
Like he has in the you're cutting out a bit, says Meridian Heights. Oh no. Yesterday same thing happened, but it resolved after the first 30 minutes. Is that right? I'm getting 0 dropped frames. What a bummer. That's unfortunate. But we're at minute 20, so maybe it'll be resolved here in a second.
Yeah, and thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, of course. Again, thanks for making sure that we don't shit on stream again. Remember that one day when I took my microphone into the bathroom with me accidentally, and you could all hear me just shitting out my arse? Man, that was embarrassing. So, James Tackett is telling me that the Flying Spaghetti Monster has told him that the Flying Spaghetti Monster would rather that I didn't go around telling people that the Flying Spaghetti Monster talks to me. See, and so that's the problem, is he's violating the 7th much more than I am, because he's telling me that the flying spaghetti monster told him what he wants from me. And surely the flying spaghetti monster can barely and hardly and only tell you what he wants from you, right?
Right.
With much difficulty, it happens. And so, flying spaghetti monster has told me that he'd rather that I didn't go out on an empty stomach when I tried to change the minds of the bigoted assholes in the street who worship mythology. And so, so James Taggart continues, your claims that you've had revelation are my specific complaints. It clearly violates number 7, sir. But then he's saying that this is revelation, that number 7 is revelation.
Yeah.
And so, number 7 is, don't brag about it. Don't go around and being like, I'm cool because God talks to me and
better than you.
And I'm not saying that. I'm saying God does talk. He's spoken to me. What's he saying to you?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, totally.
Has he shown you this vision? Because he showed me this vision. Has he shown you this one? I'm not saying I received a thing last night, a revelation, and Flying Spaghetti Monster says I get to fuck your wife now. You know, like, that's what he'd rather he didn't. He was talking about sort of this other thing. And so, you know, I understand that James Tackett sort of misunderstands part of it. He's probably very, very young and naive in his ministry, whereas I've been doing this for over 1,000 days, and so I know a lot of the minutiae that maybe he sort of is not seeing on his first read through of these books. But I do appreciate I very much appreciate his input into my ministry, and I would like to see videos of how he preaches. If he thinks that there's something that I'm doing wrong while I preach, I'd like to watch some footage of his preaches and learn that way, learn how to be a little bit better by example. We aren't special. No one gets talked to. Just peacefully spread the word and do good. Well, I mean, you can claim that that's the truth, but obviously Bobby Henderson is special, right? Obviously I'm special. The Pastafarian, daily Pastafarian stream, nobody else is doing that I know of. So, makes me a little bit special. All of the tiny little special things about us add up to make us incredibly special. And
Every one of us.
And so, for you to say that Flying Spaghetti Monster meant, when he said you're not special, that we are literally not special, well, that's not correct. He was trying to make a point about, like, don't be bragging to people, and don't be like, I'm better than you because he talks to me, because he's going to talk to everybody. Like, that doesn't make you special.
Yeah.
The fact that you're receiving revelation from Flying Spaghetti Monster, the fact that he's talking to you in your heart, the fact that you have revelation that has never been heard before, that doesn't make you special. Everyone has that. The revelation is special to you. It's special, but that doesn't make you like the prophet, the one and only prophet, allowed to call other prophets false prophets, right? Which is, what's going on right here with James Tackett, is saying, as a minister, he's denouncing me as a false prophet.
Yeah.
And like, well, that sounds like you think you're pretty special. So
to be able to do that,
right?
Yep.
So it's very hard. I know it's a very difficult sort of game we're playing, especially because a lot of it we are doing because we're using the English language, and the English language is made up of sort of Christian mythology. A lot of Christian influences. We have to use a sort of Christian language to communicate these ideas to each other, because we don't really have a non-Christian language to use, a Pastafarian language. But given time, we'll sort of remove overtly mythological words from our vocabulary, so that they don't control the thought, so that the thoughts can control the language instead of the other way around. At this time, I'm in the middle of a movie, but once I get settled, I would have no issues with a civil discussion of divine noodles. Oh, well, that's great, James Taggart. I think that I've shown right here that I'm capable of having civil discussions, and I think I've shown that this is a good subject to talk about, because obviously, as we are both Pastafarians, these are some of the not homogenizations, but I think people would like to see these conversations so that they can see these doctrines looked at from picked apart, really, and they can hear which facets of it really become part of their experience. Flying Spaghetti Monster would tell them to pick up, the parts of the conversation that they need. Yeah. Fenric Chang says, I thank our newly appendage for such a wonderful preacher, and I hope he continues to do his preaching. You don't have to hope, Fenric Chang. Your hope in this case is superfluous, because I don't think there's anything I can do to stop it. Like, it really is a really fun hobby of mine, and I enjoy it, so I'm gonna do it again. Try to stop me, as it were. And then we get back to Redonk's comment from 2 days ago, where he talks about turds going back up into people's arseholes for the nutrients. And I'm very loath to sort of click on that video and see what he was talking about, because I'm worried that's exactly what I was talking about. Because that's weird. I mean, I never, after we get off of the show, we're like, good job, and we shake each other's hands. And
Very good. Did the jokes go too far?
And then I realize I don't recall at all. I have no memory of the things that I just said. It's like I'm taken up in this Holy Spirit, and the Spirit just speaks through me.
Yes, of course.
And then when it's over, I'm just sort of dizzy and collecting the thoughts as I can, remember them, which is very difficult.
So drunk in FSM's noodly sauce that you forget everything you talked about.
Yeah, it happens. It happens quite often. Yeah. It is miraculous. And also.
I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. You held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound, like thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Get ready, 'cause I've had enough. I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of the tiger, the fighter, dancing through the fire. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me Now I'm floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. I earned my stripes. I went from zero to my own hero. You held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound, like thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Get ready, 'cause I've had enough. I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of the tiger, the fighter, dancing through the fire. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna
So that was the prophet Katy Perry, the American prophet, who was married for a time to the prophet, what's his nuts?
Mm-hmm.
You know his name?
Yeah, I saw his picture today.
Justin Timberlake. That's not right.
No. It's English.
Yeah, Mr. English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was an archer. Or something like that. Not Archer, but another one.
yeah, Arthur. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
They're kind of based off the same character.
That's a good point. Meridian Heights says, nice to hear Joe participating a bit more. Yeah, I was very worried about Joe participating because Joe comes from a pornography background, and so I didn't want her to like talk about all the stuff that she talks about on her shows. So I've told her to be like, hey, I need help me out in the studio, but try not to say too much.
Yeah,
Remember,
give me some eye contact.
Remember, it's about me. Yeah. You just sit there and let me talk at you. And she goes, all right. I guess. And I said, don't say nothing about nothing, you perv. And she's like, all right. So, that might be a bit rude, but, I'm okay being rude. That's the point. And another thing about the I'd rather you didn't, and another thing is that he'd rather we didn't. He'd rather we didn't build multi-million-dollar churches, but we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
That's him confessing that we're gonna have to once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep it to a minimum, guys.
Right. And I think if you go through the I'd rather you didn't, you'll notice that they're not like final drafted. They seem very first drafty. Especially if you go over the sex one, right? Like, I bet he could refine that one down a little bit to like make more sense and not be so like provocative or like
Square.
Well, first of all, they're pretty square.
Yeah. And
secondly, they're like pretending like they're not. They're pretending like they're being so like
generous.
We know about sex. We've had some sort of sex, and so we get it. And it's like, well, you get some things.
Yeah, I remember being offended by it personally.
The I'd rather you didn't about sex?
Yeah.
It's not very well written. It needs to be redrafted, I think. I don't know who's responsible for that, like, ultimately. But the 8 get sort of weaker as we continue. I feel like the number was the goal before we started writing them. Maybe we should just started writing them and then see how many we had.
Yeah, we didn't need to actually put a number to meet expectations.
Right.
We should have just gone over.
The 8 I'd rather you didn't are some of the poorlyest written comedy in the whole thing, and so it's unfortunate they show up. Like,
they get quoted to you.
Oh, they surely do. They surely do. And everyone sees the first one and they're like, aha, I've got him. You're not supposed to be an arsehole. And then I get to say, well, I'm not an arsehole, am I? I'm like the whole thing. I'm everything. And I'm not saying that I have a special connection very often, but I definitely am saying a lot. You're bad at this. You're bad at this game. You don't know what God says. You just worship a book. So, he doesn't say I can't do that. Or he doesn't say that he'd rather I didn't do that. And, I bet he'd rather I didn't shit every day, too. Because I'd rather I didn't have to shit every day out my arse. It makes me feel so, human, and just real and actual. And I don't like that. I wanna think that I'm more like an idea, and that I'm something other than real and actual. I'm like, theoretically, right? Theoretically, Mitch will always exist, right? That sounds much, much safer than being real and actual.
Yeah.
And so the ritual of shitting my arse out every day really doesn't make me feel comfortable about my eternity. It makes me feel like I'm just sort of a transient thing in this universe, and maybe there will be a day where there is no Mitchell. Every day while I'm shitting, I think that. And I look in the mirror too while I think it. There's a lyric from one of the songs in the beginning of my book of scripture. The first song in my book of scripture is in the car and I know what it is. It's it escapes me at the moment, but the second one is. No, the first one is Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
It is that. It's the
Yeah.
one I'm talking about.
Yeah, what's the title?
It's We Close Our Eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says in that one that he looked death in the face last night. He saw him in a mirror, and so that's why I stare into a mirror while I'm shitting, because I'm screaming at death, being like, "Fuck you! Come and get me, asshole! You know where I am!" Like that. That's why. That's my daily ritual on the toilet. And then I start streaming right afterwards. So yeah, that's a little glimpse into my day. And then the second song in in my book of scripture is "I Am a Pirate King."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that one should be first.
Mhm.
I think, or maybe I don't. Maybe I feel like "We Close Our Eyes" is a very good, very very good first song. And then this one here, we have Katy Perry's "Raw" is also in my first book of scripture. If you do want a copy of that, please do go over to the Patreon. You can see where you can. I think it's in the digital dump. Is that right? Do you have the?
I don't think so. Not yet.
All right. We definitely have it scanned.
Yeah.
You can get a copy of our first book of scripture, volume 37 of Schizophrenic Mix book of scripture. Maybe 36. I'll have to go look at the dates when I started writing the next book. But yeah, we've got so go check out the Patreon so that you can get the rewards tiers. We can get those out to you as quickly as possible. We've got 3 patrons now. Steve Moser is helping us out. He is the minestrone out there in the Cincinnati Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, who does great work out there. Go check out his channel. The Whore of Babylon has helped us out also on the channel, both with money and the video, the animation and the thing. Which reminds me, I have some correspondence to do after this this thing here, or perhaps during a commercial. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I like to just sneak these things in there when I can get them. And then so yeah, she done the animation.
Yeah.
And then we've got one more, and I believe his name is Brian McCoy, and he's helping us out as well.
I think it's Riley.
Oh, is that Riley McCoy? No, I don't.
No.
It's just a whole brand new person.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the 3 people.
Okay.
Yeah, Riley Cox, you're right. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Riley Cox, for supporting us out here on the Patreon. Has pledged $2 a month. Oh my God! And has given us $6. Good God! Wow! Look at this. The Whore of Babylon has pledged to give us $10 a month, and has already given us a total of $39 over our entire relationship.
Wow.
So not only Jesus, we'll be able to stop this because I'm sure that intro, that animation, if we were to put it on the free market that Americans worship so much, would be like a $60 animation, right? Like you could pay $60 for that. Here's the thing, here's $100, give us good animation, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. We're gonna figure it out. Where can I get your book of scripture? Says Meridian Heights ASMR.
If you want a physical copy, you mail us some check with the envelope.
Yeah, we could print it out on Kinko's papers and mail it to you. But we've got it digitally somewhere online. Let me see if I can find it right now. Probably not. Maybe I'll find it during the commercials so that they're less boring. So that
your brain's fully available for your chat.
Yeah, because I need my full brain available to be able
talk.
to do this sort of very heavy lifting work.
Yeah.
So we
I
put
the story of Skits once was trying to talk to me while he was on the phone, and he wrote me some notes to ask a question, and I've got images, I've got arrows, I've got random words.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. What is the name of this girl's son? This girl has a son. What's his name? That was the question. Is I was talking to my sister, and I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot her firstborn's name. I can remember her daughter's name, But what the fuck was her son's name? Oh shit, I'm an asshole. Fuck, Jenny, you gotta tell me the truth here. And so then I wrote it all down, and I wrote Eden, which is the name of my niece, and and then I tried to do tell me the name of her brother.
Yeah.
It's just the worst. We never could get it.
So the lesson is let skids focus on talking.
Half a brain is not enough of a brain. That's the lesson. Have we uploaded any of it? I'm sure it's in the archives.
I don't know.
We've scanned it.
I know we've scanned it, but I don't know if we've uploaded it.
Right. So if you want it to look at and read through, you can get it there. But if you want me reading through it to you, right? It's my notes book for the first year of preaching.
Sermons.
Yeah, I wrote my sermons and my
talking to strangers,
songs,
passing by.
my poetry into a book, and I would just keep notes in this book, and I'd start at the beginning, of course, where you would normally start anything, and fill it, and then when I used it, I just wouldn't read that page anymore. I'd sort of keep new notes, and it was like 200-page book, and there's a lot of things written in there. There's the letter that Salmon P. Chase wrote to get the old In God We Trust on the thing. There's the list of the Pulse nightclub victims. Their names are in that book. There is the 8 I'd Rather You Didn't are written in this book. Some poetry from some Bob Dylan is in this book. Katy Perry's in this book. The full poem that is on the Statue of Liberty is in this book.
Yeah. We
So-
have some names, I think, in it from. We read off names once.
Yeah, the Pulse nightclub victims.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, so yeah, if you go to my early videos, basically I'm reading out of it. It's that brown book. That's it. And I've scanned it, and, I can get it to you if we can figure it out. Here's one of them. The message has been retracted, but I saw it, and I memorized it. No, I didn't memorize it. Yeah, you definitely don't want to put your email in this chat, because you never know what kind of weirdos are hanging out here. Though I do put my email in here, which is thedogshop@gmail if you want to send me an email. Also, send me some shit on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Venmo or Coffee or PayPal
Patreon
or Patreon or Bitcoin or GoFundMe or all those other places where you want to give me all of your money. And yeah, hopefully a Christian will come by, because we put in the name of the chat here for this one. We called it Jesus Lied, Genesis is Myth. Did I spell it right? Genesis. Is there a Y right there? It's got to be this, right? Genesis is Myth. Your religion is evil. I put religion in quotes. It's funny. It's fucked up. So hopefully some Christians will come and be like, what are you talking about? But, maybe I should put the word Pastafarian in there.
Well, that picture shows up too, right? When it's like live right now, and it's got a picture.
Maybe it's this picture.
Oh, okay.
Pastafarian is the one true cult. Maybe that'll work. I don't think any of this will work, trying to provoke the Christians. I've noticed it works pretty well when I sit back in public in my costume with a sign that just says Jesus Lied. I noticed a lot of people approach me
when you're sitting.
When I just am sitting and I'm not saying anything and I'm just sort of reclining and taking it easy, people are very, very interested in refuting the thing that I'm screaming on a sign, right? It looks like I'm not screaming, but I'm definitely screaming. Mm-hmm. And then they come up and they're like, hey, so I'm responding to your sign. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, well, let's talk. and those conversations go for pretty good. Generally, actually, a couple times when I've been doing this, I've had to tell people to move on, please. You're being very weird now. But it might have been because it was a holiday. Like, I noticed that happening on the 4th of July, so maybe it was just people were not too busy, and they were like, you'll entertain me for 30 minutes, and then I'll be 30 minutes further, closer to the treat that I am here for.
Yeah.
The explosions over the water that are definitely celebratory and not threatening, you know? For the last... pardon me. Pardon me. Oh, look, Caleb Burris says, I don't think there'll be any. I'm ready for the Christian trolls. But Caleb Burris says, I don't think there will be any Christian trolls. Yeah, I don't think so either. We had one last season, I think. We done 33 episodes last season. And most of them were like 2 hours long or more.
Mm-hmm.
And we only ever really had one Christian who came in here.
Consistently, yeah.
Oh,
We
had
two.
two. We had two. Because What's-His-Nuts came from Brazil.
Yeah.
And he's very mad at Nestle because they don't make good chocolate anymore. He's very upset about them. And he's like, death to Nestle and all the fat Americans. And so that was one of our trolls. But he wasn't really a troll. He really does believe this. You know what I mean? He really believes that he's going to come up here one day and kill me and my family and take our land from us. And it's like, ha ha ha, this isn't even our land. Ha ha, I don't own it. Fucking landlord owns it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that'll show you. No Americans own anything. Ha ha, you got us wrong, mister. And then there was this other guy at the end that was like screaming at us. So that was fun.
Yeah. And everyone in chat was trying to ask him questions. And
Yeah, that was fun.
he wasn't responding.
Yeah, he was very non-responsive because I think he was having a hard time sort of focusing his mind on any one line of conversation. So, you know, I suppose that's to be expected when you're talking in a group, which is what we were doing. Because there's 3 of us now, right? And you know, in the chat, you guys can type as much as you want, and I'm just the only one who gets to talk out loud like this, me and Joe, because that's the way Flying Spaghetti Monster wants it, according to the 7th. No, because what if I said, well, you know, he told me that that's not the real 7th, he is the real 7th. What if I just changed them? Like, who would know which one's right? Right? It's very hard. It's a conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't try to think too much about what would the 7th be if I changed it a little, right? How would I write the 7th? Because somebody wrote it, you know, and somebody felt good answering that question. They said, there's a 7th. How would I write it? And they said, I would probably write it like this. And then that's it. And so, how come I don't get to ask myself that question? How come I feel weird about it? How am I being told religiously by the, you know, people in charge of the culture of Flying Spaghetti Monster that I'm not allowed to and they are? It seems the 7th is a contradiction of itself. Especially because it's in the first person, right? It's like, I would rather you didn't. Who's I? It's the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather you didn't tell people I talk to you. He says to you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, cool, well, then don't talk to me, Flying Spaghetti Monster. If you want me not to tell people that you talk to me, it's really easy. All you have to do is not talk to me like you are. And then I won't. And so if you'd rather that I didn't do that, it seems weird that you would behave in the way that you are behaving. So Flying Spaghetti Monster is really just lamenting his own sort of sadness there. He's like, I really wish you guys didn't have to shit every day. And be like, oh, Flying Spaghetti Monster. How would we have the energy to go throughout our day if we didn't consume food and expel the refuse, right? Like, come on, Flying Spaghetti Monster. We all would wish that we didn't have to shit every day, but get real, would you? We live in a real world. Shitting is just a reality. Because that's the 9th. I'd really rather you didn't have to shit all day.
All right.
I was like, well, me too.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have this vacuum that I carry around with me, and it's just on automatic all day long, full suction.
This is how
up my
Radon
butt.
gets those weird comments.
Oh, because of the butt? That's right,
'Cause of what
exactly.
you just said.
Shit. Don't. I hope Radonk is not listening right now. Anyway, like I was saying.
We don't do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs, no more. Cause she don't do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs no more. When did you change? When do you've aged? I thought you never grow up. I thought you never. Window closed. Wendy got old. I was too late. A shadow of what I once was. Cause we don't do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs no more. She don't laugh the same way no more. We don't do the same drugs no more. Where did you go?
Why did you stay?
You must have lost your marbles. You always were so forgetful. In a hurry. Don't wait up. I was too late. A shadow of what I once was. Cause we don't do what we say we're gonna. You were always perfect, and I was only practice. Don't you miss the days, stranger? Don't you miss the days? Don't you miss the danger? We don't do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs. Do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs no more. We don't do the same drugs. All you need is happy thoughts. The past tense, past bedtime. Way back then when everything we read was real and everything we said rhymed. Wide-eyed kids being kids. Why did you stop? What did you do to your hair? Where did you go to end up right back here? When did you start to forget how to fly?
Yeah, so there's Chance the Rapper. Let's see. How do you guys feel about the nature of ideology? I suppose that depends what you mean by the nature of ideology. How do you feel about it? And then we will also have feelings about it. Flying Spaghetti Monster might be drunk again, says Meridian Heights. Give him a break, lol. I hope that Caleb Burris is still here with us to explain what specifically they meant by nature of ideology. Is this somebody's thesis? Are you quoting somebody here, or? Yeah, but I'm sure we can talk about it for an obscene amount of time, and in fact, we might even change the title to "The Nature of Ideology." Yeah. I would Google it right now, but I'd rather you define the terms, right? You know, because it really doesn't matter what Google thinks it is. It doesn't matter what I think the words is either. So, you know, just let us know how you feel about it, and then we'll be able to sort of respond. But you were talking about something really important.
That I'd rather you didn't.
Yeah, I'd rather you didn't, I think.
And that they're written for each person.
No, it was the burning planet that we're on. Because we're on a fucking on-fire planet right now.
Yeah.
We are past Midsummer's Day, which I think is the 21st of the last month of June. I think that's Midsummer Day. I think that's when I preached on the day that it was fucking What's Nuts' birthday. And that's not correct. It's not Frodo Bilbo's birthday. That's on the 21st of September, which is, coincidentally, when the golden plates were found. So, during that equinox. But the summer solstice, Midsummer's Day, that was the day that Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and Arwen, son of Elrond, right? She's daughter of Elrond, I suppose. And her mother is, I don't know, who's Arwen's mother? Do we talk about mothers of ladies?
Not sure.
Me neither.
Yeah.
That's what we did in my family. We talked about my dad's dad, and when he became a Mormon, and we talked about my mom's mom, and when she became a Mormon. They're very interesting stories. So yeah, we were patriarchal down the dick line and matriarchal down the vagina line.
Vagina.
The uterus. The humans the uterine humines, we followed the uterus. Caleb Burris says, to me, this is very good. I can tell already there's a great comment. To me, ideology is a set of ideas in an attempt to improve a situation or group. However, it seems that ideology almost always fails and worsens society in an attempt to accomplish its goals overall. I see what you're saying. I've had a conversation recently with a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, and he said, the problem with utopias is that mine, the one that I set up, and I take all of the variables and I say, this makes utopia, is probably utopia for only me. Maybe only me, because I'm very strange, but even for you people who are practically normal, you probably can't even get a large percent of humans to agree that your utopia is utopia. Even if you were to implement it, they'd be like, no, here's what's wrong, here's what's wrong, here's what's wrong, and you'd be like, no, that's fine, it's not what's wrong, do you see? And so, yeah, that is, so, yeah, I think what you're saying here is, we all seem to seek our utopia, and then when we do, we create a group of ideas and say these ideas are good together always, and then that becomes a sort of dogmatic idea, and then the dogma overcomes the practicality of the statement in the beginning, you know, your kid isn't doing what you say, and you say, if you don't do what I say, after you die, you're going to go to hell. Right? And then all of a sudden your kid's doing what they say, and it's great, right? And then your kid tells their kid, and then 6 generations later, it's a crusade.
Yeah.
You know? You think you're setting up these harmless things, you know, ideas, and then the ideas come to fucking life, and tell life what it should be. And so, yeah, and then, because what, but then when you're talking about worsening society, I don't really know. I don't know what worsens society and what strengthens society, because that statement right there is in reflection to a utopian idea. right? Like, I'm not sure what worsens us or strengthens us, because, you know, some of the curves we can look at and be like, that's a good curve, that's a good curve. People are murdering each other less now, if you can believe it. It's hard to believe, because the news is telling us that that's not true. But the curve of, like, humans, percent of humans killed by other humans is going down in the future. The curve of, like, the wealth of the average human is going up. But also, at the same time, our CO2 emissions are going up. We're going to get all of the fucking carbohydrates. What are they called?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbohydrates. The multicarbons in the ground. Carbon chains. We're going to get them all.
Yeah.
All of the petrochemicals in the planet, we're going to get to 100%. That's not a good line, right? So, like, does that worsen society? Does that strengthen society? Did the cars strengthen society? Because they're going to kill us.
And again, there's an opinion. Everyone has a different opinion,
right,
on that one view.
Right, because people are like, yes, the point is the bottom line, capitalism. From the line of capitalism, that's how we measure. And so, in a real leaving religion, leaving the myth belief, it's been very hard to realize that there is no objective morality. It's been hard to make that real. What I've been trying to do is fit what I see back into the framework that objective morality, the shape of objective morality. Mm-hmm. I keep trying to put my thoughts into, okay, but morality is subjective, but objective from my point of view. And it's like, no, like, there's no such thing as objective morality. And so that's the point, is this idea of strengthen suffers from the same problem that the whole thought suffers from, is what strengthens a society, what weakens it. I don't know, it's subjective.
Yeah.
It depends what you mean. If we're talking about the individuals, right? If we're saying the individuals are happier, cool, we can figure it out from that point of view. But what if we don't agree that happy individuals strengthen society? What if we think that happy individuals weaken society because happy individuals aren't participating as much as they would if they had to earn happiness?
Yeah.
Right. So, I personally am not a collectivist. I'm not. Like, I don't think the strength of America is that our country is the best country, and we have to make sure that that's always true. I think the strength of America is each individual is most allowed to be an individual out of any of the operating systems that there are, and that is the best system, because collectivism is bullshit and the strength is in the individual. And that's what I'm saying religiously, is that even if there is a God telling you what to do, you're still responsible, okay? Mm-hmm. Even if there is a society saying, we own you, we are the moral agent and you're not, you've got to fight that. You have to say, no, I'm a human. Humans are the moral agents. My fingers aren't moral. My heart and brain and pieces aren't moral. My molecules are not moral. The systems that I set up are not moral. The nations that I live in and the clubs that I belong to are not moral. They are above morality, and all my particles are below morality, and the level of morality is here in my consciousness. It must be. We must all take responsibility for our own morality, and that's why I'm not a collectivist, right? Like these nationalist ideas that are growing now, especially these sort of race national ideas, are very, very bizarre. I don't think that is how we ought to sort ourselves at all. And I know I've moved along, but so have you, because you have said, Caleb Burris has said, historically a rejection of ideologies and acceptance of individualism, and to some extent altruism, leads to an improvement. The Enlightenment is a good example, right? But when you say improvement right there, which I would agree with, right? Mm-hmm. We can't say, obviously, everyone would agree with it, because no, there are nationalists. There are people who say, I'd rather not be an individual. I'd rather be plugged into a state and they tell me my identity, and I don't have to worry about whether I'm good or not because they do. Because that might be utopia to some, is the problem. That might be
what they're
to
working
some.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we should, if we are all individualists, if we are a great nation of individualists, then how do we allow them their voice inside this nation that they want to change? Like, what do we do?
Right.
Is it like, cool, you get to do that in your religions, right? Just remember to keep it in the buildings. You get to do that in your marriages. You get to do that in your job, in your businesses, or are we saying, if you don't like it, there's other nations. You know, if you want to be a nationalist, that's what they're selling over in North Korea. They're one of the accepted sort of ideas now, apparently.
Yeah.
That they're shaking hands with presidents. Go be a North Korean citizen, maybe. Because I don't know. I don't think that's what we're saying. Maybe it is, though. Maybe it is. Maybe we're saying the nations try different ideas. But then the problem is then they'll war over those ideas, and we don't want that, right? We don't want the ideas waging wars against each other. So it's got to be done internally, internal to the nation, oughtn't it?
Right.
So, because I mean, if we were to expel all of them, they'd be upset, and they'd be like, well, I mean, I was born there, it's my land, I'm taking it back.
Or even if they chose to go create their own country of nationalists, they're
Like,
going to war
in Texas.
to prove.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, to prove that their ideology is stronger, and they'll use war to sort of prove that thing.
And
Because
push people out that they don't agree with.
Yeah, because that's what we
and it
do, right?
continues.
Because that's
Yeah.
how capitalism killed communism, right? We weren't like, oh, so you're going to go try that, huh? Okay, have fun, good luck. It definitely wasn't that, right? It wasn't like, we'll be doing capitalism over here, and we'll see if that works, and you do communism, and, we'll try not to taint each other's experiments here.
Correct.
Right?
It was
from
so
the
quickly.
beginning, we want to prove that our
Yeah.
idea is the good idea.
So yeah, we do need to find a way to integrate.
Right. So I think really small neighborhoods is the point. I think small communities with community rules and community currencies is what we should do. I think small religious communities that are able to communicate to each other, that import and export different ideas, right? Like, instead of businesses, I think you should live close to who you work for. I think
agree with
if
that.
you have a sort of salary with someone, they should just take it, right? You should be part of their community. They should give you the house. They should give you your car, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because instead of giving you the money, and then you go take that money and choose which option you want. No, they don't ever give you the money. You tell them which option you want, and they give it to you, because you're in their community, and they have to figure out your housing situation because you're a salaried person. They take care of your community.
Yeah.
And so
the money goes back into
right.
that community.
And it's like, oh, how are we're gonna change that all at once? And it's like, no. The point is, because it's small communities based, we just go to all the small communities that are already started and being like, hey, this is normal. And they're like, oh, it is? Okay, well, we'll stop pretending like we're the weird ones. And we'll start telling you what we're doing. We'll start letting you in to see what we're doing. It'll get a lot less weird. But, I don't think that's the solution. I'm just saying, what would I work on, right? Yeah, I don't think it'll work. That's the point. I want everyone to fucking find their solution, give it a shot, and then everyone says, so these were our results, and then I want them to be able to be like, Scouts Honor, no cheating. Because that's the problem with capitalism, is they were like, we're better than communism because you were fucking communism, right? You were making sure it didn't work with weapons and money and blood and lies.
Yeah.
And
all these corporations were going to other countries and suing them.
Yeah, when corporations get bigger than countries, that's not okay, right? Like,
definitely.
That's bigger than a monopoly,
because then they
right?
took their crazy amount of money and used it against these other countries.
Against a country.
Yeah.
Yeah, when a corporation can tell a country how to run, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So when we're definitely in that situation. I prefer a measure improvement. Oh, here we go. Here is Caleb Burris's Well, because that's the point. Is I was talking about this subjective idea of like better, improvement, stronger, and so Caleb Burse, I hope here, is telling us the measurement of how we can measure better, because that's the point. Is everyone's got their own definition of this, and so when we get to it, then we can just compare them, because I don't like bringing up Hitler, so I'm just talking about like cartoon Hitler, right? Because I can't talk about real Hitler anymore. So when cartoon Hitler is up here and he's like, oh yes, well here's how I would call things better, and maybe he'd be like, stronger, the cartoon Hitler. He wouldn't be like less Jewy. He'd just be like, stronger boys, we need stronger boys. Whatever makes the boys stronger will be good. Right, just cartoon Hitler. No, there's no such thing.
So
I think there is. I'll draw them for you. I'll show you cartoon Hitler.
you gotta use like a Marvel reference, like
Yeah.
red face,
So
red skull.
because Caleb is saying, I prefer to measure improvement by technological development, as that seems to make situations better for everyone. The USSR failed because of a banking crisis. Yeah, but yes, that could be the thing that sort of precipitated the thing, but like, I'm not saying the banking crisis was due to the 60 years of pressure that the United States had pushed on it, but it helped. The United States wasn't the two sides. Let's say, because let's not say USSR and United States, because that whole ideology of the Eastern Bloc, Western Bloc. And it wasn't like, okay, you guys go over there, leave us the fuck alone, we'll be doing our thing, you be doing your thing. No, there was lots of spies going on, there was lots of people dying, it was a Cold War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like...
There was lots of propaganda going against each other's countries.
Yes, there was lots of... It's just like it's happening now, eh? We were in a war of ideologies. And so I think that warring ideologies is a very strange thing. Why the fuck are the ideologies at war? Mm-hmm. And why are they using real actual war? And so that's what's bizarre, is if we weren't this collectivist thing, if we could just be like, cool, but we're all individuals, right? Then what would these wars be about, right? Like who would be able to even get enough people to agree to a war unless we had ideologies to fight over, right?
Yeah.
Like what a strange thing. Especially because each of these ideologies eventually pick up the idea that, and it's definitely okay to kill someone who disagrees on this case. And like, fuck, man, like, is it always like the 100th idea that sticks to a group, or maybe only the ones that are bigger collect it? I don't know. It's very culty though. So now let's go back, now that we've talked about it. How do you guys feel about the nature of ideology? I think to answer your question is, I feel like if we were to look at this place as ideas at war, yes, that's exactly what's going on. And we need to tell the ideas they don't get to declare the wars anymore. Mm-hmm. Individuals do, and an individual's never going to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the nature of ideology is dangerous. Is that it? How do I feel about it? I feel like it's dangerous. We need to sort of not trust it. Mm-hmm. When people say... When my dog is sighing at me because I didn't let him out of the door. He went to the door for like 2 seconds and we didn't let him out. And so he sighed. He lay down on his bed and sighed like we're the biggest assholes on the planet. Which I suppose we are. So I'm going to see if I can find any more music here, and then maybe I'll let this poor dog out.
doubt or bother reading into it. I probably won't. Left to my own devices, but that's the difference in our opinions. You're a mouthful, that a mouthful. Another week on my own. Now I'm a novel, made resourceful. I start a chain with my thought. Talk is cheap, my darling, when you're feeling right at home. I wanna make you move with confidence. I wanna be with you alone. So help me help you start it. You're too comfortable to know. Throwing out those words, no, you gotta feel it on your own. Cold pain, I cannot sustain it. That's what I'm thinking, not what I'm drinking. Hold up my ways, your thoughts are pervasive. It's not a statement, but peace can be evasive. You're a mouthful, that a mouthful. Another week on my own. Now I'm a novel, made resourceful. I start a chain with my thought. Talk is cheap, my darling, when you're feeling right at home. I wanna make you move with confidence. I wanna be with you alone. So help me help you start it. You're too comfortable to know. Throwing out those words, no, you gotta feel it on your own. Talk is cheap, my darling, when you're feeling right at home. I wanna make you move with confidence. I wanna be with you alone. So help me help you start it. You're too comfortable to know. Throwing out those words, no, you gotta feel it on your own.
That, of course, was Chet Faker, who really hated his name, and so he changed his name to Nick Murphy. So, Meridian Heights says, Caleb, at Caleb, great contributions here, keeping things interesting. Nice to meet you. Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Caleb, for coming by and talking about things that are interesting. Because usually we just sit around and talk about shit in our assholes, and that's very embarrassing. I would like it if our Pastafarian daily Pastafarian stream had some sort of substance to it. But you know, if nobody wants any substance, I'm not gonna like just add it to it just so that it's all substance. If people are like, you know what, the substance part's really boring, can we go to the part where we just joke about, you know, scatological jokes? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Because this one time, I have kids, and this one time, I was changing my kid's diaper, and you know, sometimes you kids are very like, you know, watery in their shits, you know, very, very, very watery. And, you know, there's another arsehole that you've got to take care of. All of a sudden, when you have a kid, you've got your fucking arsehole that you've been taking care of for a while, and then there's this whole new fucking arsehole that nobody's taking care of, and that's yours. You just take care of that arsehole. It poops all day long. Yep. 3 times a day. And I hear that the first one or two, is like, it's like, oh, this baby comes straight from the pits of hell. Like, I hear it's very, very hard to deal with. Happily, I think in all 3 of my situations, a nurse has dealt with it, and so, what a job that is. But, anyway, as a parent, your number 1 job is to fucking keep that arsehole clean. And then the number 2 job is to feed the fucking screaming part, right? Mm-hmm. And then the 3rd one is make sure it goes to sleep a lot. Right? Yeah. And so, as an aside, before I start talking about the poop, that's what being a parent is a checklist of 3. And unfortunately, when you're a parent, when you have a baby, you are so frustrated and stressed and exhausted that you only have space for 2. Like, in your whole sort of things you can think of, you're like, okay, I fed it. It's not fucking... doesn't have a dirty diaper. What the fuck does it want? And then, you know, you go over to the kitchen where you've got the 3-point checklist and you're like, yeah, fed it, wiped its bum. Oh, that's right, sleep! And then you go tell it to go to sleep. Because there's no way you can remember all 3 because you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Also, you should have your checklist on there too. And be like, have I done these for me? Definitely no.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm changing this. I'm just trying to explain why I was dealing with another person's shit. Because literally this person was my child. And you've got to. So it was very, 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 very watery, right? It just went into the diaper, right? Just like with hardly any sort of like
Resistance or
residue, right? Like it was just it was like a pee diaper, but out the arse. Except there were like these little like orbs, okay, about as big as my pinky nail, and they were like shiny, like, you know, reflective, you know, of light, and they were like balls. And I was like, what has this fucking kid been eating? And I'm like trying to figure out whether he got into like some marbles or something, and like we're gonna have to do it. And then it's like, oh, these are raisins. This motherfucker has fucking hydrated these raisins in his arse. He fucking ate raisins and he shat grapes. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then of course I thought to myself, well, we better lock up the prunes. Right. Because,
plums.
yeah, he can't shit plums. This poor bastard may be able to shit grapes. But there's no way he's shitting plums. So there you go. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
I'm going to put that in my stand-up comedy. A? No? Yes, no? What do you think is the meaning of life besides a great movie? You asked for it. What do I think is the meaning of life? I think the question begs an answer that isn't there. I think the question isn't what is the meaning of life. The question is there meaning to life? And the answer to that is, other than the meaning we put into it, no. Right? Other than the meaning that I have, other than what it means to me, does it have meaning? No. It means something to all of us, we who are alive. But does it have a greater meaning than that? No. Does it? Maybe it needs greater meaning. Maybe it does. Maybe that's not a good enough answer. Maybe the answer is no, there is. And Flying Spaghetti Monster knows it because he meant to create the universe. What was the meaning of that? What was the meaning of his creation? You'll have to ask him. It could have been something as nonsensical as he shat us out. And he shits out universes at regular intervals because he eats something else and shits universes. So what's the meaning? The meaning is Flying Spaghetti Monster had to shit, right? Like, what is the meaning of the Christian universe? God was alone and said, I want people around. That's the meaning. He wanted it. So you know, the meaning is subjective, and even if it's created by someone, he's still one of the subjects. He doesn't get to tell us what the meaning is. So the meaning for me, personally, is, A, I am really, really enjoying these days. Really fun and interesting things happen during my days. B, I really got nowhere else to go, so this is a nice place to stick around. C, I got some projects in the works I'm excited about. I've got some things I'm doing that are going to take a while to come to fruition, and I'm very excited about how I'm going to feel during those times when I see the people that I love graduate, and the projects that we're working on here, these communities that we're building, find a voice, and so I'm excited to see the progress. Other than that, there's no real meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up to the individual.
Yeah, lots of fun.
And that question has to be answered because that's how you decide whether, in your super depressed times, whether you want to continue or not.
Yeah,
right?
that is part of the homework.
Yeah.
That every moral agent must have done. Is like, cool. Why the fuck are you sticking around? Because if you don't have a reason for that, yeah, like you said, when the nihilism shows up one day and you're like, if this means nothing, if there's no ultimate meaning to this, is this minuscule meaning enough to keep going? And the answer is yes. You know, Sia says it. Sia says, there's a scream inside that we all try to hide. Why the fuck would we try to hide it? You know, like, what is more true than I don't want to die, right? I don't want to die. No. I want more of this. I'm enjoying it. I'll take more, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you don't think that, that's okay. It might be true that many people say, I would rather not be here. And cool. You know, there's I'm not saying you need therapy, but I'm saying the tools that you need are not supplied by religion. They're supplied by the mental health industry. Don't look to religion for solutions to this problem.
Yeah.
Please don't. Because A, if your reason for living is because the God of the Bible wants you to, that's slavery, that's torture. Someone's torturing you. There's a better reason for you to be living. There's your mental health professional will help you find it. You know, and secondly, you're going to disdain staying, right? You're going to be, if you're here against your will, you're going to be harming this place.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's lots of people who are here against their will. And so I don't want them to go. I want them to understand why they'd like to stay.
Yeah.
Because they're longing for the next place. And they're burning this one so that they can get out of here as quickly as possible. So that they can believe that there's a better place than this somewhere. So they're making it shitty here and hot. So yeah, we were talking about this is the hottest this planet's been since inhabited by humans, and we are incredibly determined to take all of the fossil fuels and put them in the atmosphere. Like, that is a thing we're going to do. We're going to hit 90%, right? Like, how on earth can we say we thought this through, right? Yeah, definitely, this is a good idea. So, it's this subconscious fucking abuse of the planet in the same subconscious self-abuse that Christians do, because they have been telling themselves on the inside since they were children, you deserve hell.
Yeah.
You are the worst.
Yeah.
They are cruel to themselves on the inside. They are not kind. They must be kind to themselves on the inside.
Yes.
And they don't. They hate themselves. They call themselves children of the devil and stuff. And that's why they can call it to you. It's because they've called it to themselves 10 times. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good answer, says Meridian Heights. Well, thank you. I hope there was an answer in there somewhere. We definitely were moving from topic to topic. Moving from topic to topic. That's Captain Picard talking about one of his lecturers, and that's what I just done. Moving from topic to topic. So we were talking about the other day. There is this theme in a lot of religions of this idea of cleansing the inner vessel, of setting your house in order. And then there's also the statement of be nice, right? And then there's also the statement that you can't change anything but yourself. There's nothing you can have control of except for the things, the inner vessel and your house. When they say set your house in order, cleanse the inner vessel, they should say there's no other option. You cannot cleanse the outer vessel. You can't. You cannot set someone else's house in order. You can try to be nice to someone, but whether you're nice or not depends on them, whether they receive it. Their perception of it. Yeah. Perception. Yeah, their perception determines whether your niceness was received or not. The genuineness of it doesn't matter. Don't be nice. You can only be nice to yourself. That's where you've got to be it. And that's where Christians are not nice to themselves. On the inside, in the inner vessel, in their own house, is in disarray. There is someone screaming at all hours, you deserve hell. One infraction is enough.
And proof of it.
Right. You're a dummy. You're the worst.
Yeah.
You're a sinner. Give more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inside their own vessel, in their own house, it's a prison, and there's screaming and chains and bars and threats.
Many threats.
Right, and that's...
Many cutoffs of personalities.
Right, so...
You know, repression. Yeah.
And so that's what they can change. That's where they can. Like, I can do it in my head, and I did. Right? I'm going around all the parts of me that are calling the other parts of me mean names. And I'm saying, excuse me, we've got to stop this.
Yeah.
We are setting our house in order. We are cleansing the inner vessel.
Yeah, it's time for collaboration.
Right, so I can do it, and so they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do it for them, right? I can just ask them, it seems like this thing that I've learned, because I've been trying to understand how to be a moral agent, you haven't learned. Is that right? Have you not learned it? Or am I misunderstanding the weird prison that you've set up for yourself in your mind? I have had people on the street tell me they were murderers. And I know they're lying to me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone who's ever killed someone has confessed it to me, okay? I think people who haven't are calling themselves murderers, and I think that's really dumb.
Yeah.
I think it's first of all, it's disrespectful to people who have had to kill people for their job. Because that's one of the things about this American thing, is like, remember the heroes, and it's like, cool, are the heroes if I don't agree with the wars, right? And people that have to kill for their job, should I thank them because I didn't have to do it, or should I be like, I don't think anyone has to kill for their jobs?
Yeah.
I think it's a totally unnecessary thing. But there were wars, and people were doing it in my name, and they had to see some horrible things. They didn't choose it. They may have chosen some of it. They did not choose what actually happened, because this world is much, much worse than we sort of imagine, right? They saw things that surprised them. So you know, there's a respect we can give them of being like, I am glad that you kept those horrors distant from me. Let's find other ways to do it. And I think calling yourself a murderer because you took a day after pill is not really understanding what murder is, and talking about cartoon murder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
no, I don't think anyone who's ever said I'm a murderer to me has been. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're not. But they call themselves it on the inside over and over and over. So much, in fact, that I've heard them say it out loud
Right.
a
Yes.
number of times.
Yeah.
Sky
You
said,
hang out with someone enough, you hear their self-insults.
yes,
And
yes.
if they say yelling inside to themselves over and over, it comes out pretty quickly when you meet somebody new.
Right.
And
yes.
you go, oh, I don't want to hang out with this person. They're very...
Right. So, you know, try to shut them down. If you have to do them, keep them fun and flirty. You know, try not to use the N-word, you know, when you're talking to yourself. Don't, you know, be careful with the way you treat yourself on the inside, because Christians are not. And look, that's why they can be so mean.
Yeah.
If you're not mean to yourself at all on the inside, you'll never be mean to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You won't even imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason you can do it is because you're that mean to you.
Yes.
To one section of yourself that you hate.
Yes.
I'm like, well, what the fuck is that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, clean it up on the inside. Blah 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 blah. It's getting pretty late, ladies and gentlemen. It's 12:30. It is on a Saturday, so you know, maybe we haven't been too jumpy with the
Laggy, yeah.
too laggy. That's the word, laggy. Anyway, thank you, Miranda Wrights and Caleb Burris and anybody else who may have come by. And also the people who watch in the future. Thank you very much for coming to the end of this again. Hopefully you're watching in double speed. If you do listen to this not live, if you listen to me in double speed and then you listen to me live, I'm pretty sure I sound drunk. And so yeah, we're drunk live, I guess, is the thing. Anyway, we'll probably be here tomorrow. So thanks for coming by. Thank you so much. what a blast it is. I definitely will do some homework today, and we'll premiere it tomorrow. See you soon, Pastafarians.